So, while the courts in California have given Gavin Newsom the green light, so did the courts in New York give Donald Trump the green light to go back to grifting. Folks, there is so much news to unpack on this Good Thursday. So, why don't we do what we do best and get right into it? Welcome, Damnation. I am so glad that you are here. Happy Thursday. The Danielle Moodie Show begins now. Hello, Damn Nation, and welcome to the Danielle Moodie Show. There is so much news to get through today, so let us begin. I like to go back and forth with some good, with some bad, and then some just absolute fuckery, right? So let's get into it. First up, shout out to Barack Obama. Barack Obama out here. I don't know why he wants to be doing the Lord's work, but here he finds himself. Because there's been this back and forth, right? We know that Michelle Obama was the one who said, when they go low, we go high. And we all know that Gavin Newsom said, when they go low, we go to fucking hell. So here we have a gerrymandering war that has now been set off by Texas passing their gerrymandered map after holding one of the representatives, Representative Nicole Collier, hostage and kidnapping her. And then putting the rest of the Democrats on some type of slave patrol watch. So now they've passed their racist bullshit gerrymandering bill. Barack Obama has entered the chat because here's the thing. We all know what Democrats do best. They love to pretend to be the adults in the room. Whenever Republicans seem to bring us into hell, they're like, "Oh no, 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 it's a distraction. We need to focus on the real issues. The real issues is fascism." So here comes Barack Obama. And he says this: over the long term, we shouldn't have political gerrymandering in America. Just a fair fight between Republicans and Democrats based on who's got better ideas. But since Texas is taking direction from a partisan White House and gerrymandering in the middle of a decade to try and maintain the House despite their unpopular policies, I have tremendous respect for how Governor Newsom has approached this. He's put forward a smart, measured approach in California designed to address a very particular problem at a very particular moment in time. And here's the thing: I could not agree with Barack Obama more. The reality is, I don't want gerrymandering. I don't want to live in a country where either party is able to play games to suppress the vote or to add more seats that the people did not give them. But if you are going to fucking dance with the devil, as the Republicans have shown themselves so willing and able to do, well, then, friends, we got to go grab our horns too. We got to go get our pitchforks too and stop pretending that, oh, the law, right? The courts are going to save us and are going to do their job. No. It is time that people recognize that you need to take matters into your own goddamn hands. And that is exactly what Gavin Newsom has done. Bravo, bravo. And so here's what has happened. Gavin Newsom scores California Supreme Court win in redistricting battle. The justices reject GOP bid to block special election on new congressional maps. So it is full steam ahead. And I have said this over and over again. Oh, wonderful breaking news. Thank you. That, again, I have said this before. Everyone needs to be moving in lockstep. Democratic governors need to be moving in lockstep. Gavin Newsom right now winning. So y'all need to be moving in the same way that he is moving. And so this is before we even move on. Gavin Newsom and this social media team is a thing of fucking beauty. Like, shout out to the social media team, to the woman and man who is leading this team, because y'all, hold on to your hats for this message. Wow. Fox News can't stop talking about me. Gavin C. Newsom, America's favorite governor. Tonight, their entire primetime lineup was about me. Jesse Waters kept calling me daddy. Very weird, not interested, but thank you. Sean Hannity, very nice guy, nearly cried because I won't take his advice. Sorry, Sean. Then they dragged out the B team of dum-dums. Meatball Ron, Tommy Toilet, Lauren, and Teddy Cancun Cruz. He even flew back special from Mexico, all whining about me. GCN. They had to play the music to shut Ted up about my beautiful hair. I get it. So jealous. Total disaster. MAGA hates me because they hate you. They hate that California is the fourth largest economy in the world. They hate that crime is down, that we're number one in farming. I love farmers. Manufacturing, tourism, and tech, all while we give affordable health care, free school meals, make America pregnant again, paid baby leave for moms. They should not return anyways. $20 minimum wage, and so much more for the people. They hate that Democrats are winning. Fox and MAGA have Newsom derangement syndrome. They should cry harder. Sad. GCN. Oh my God. Folks, we have entered into a new phase where I never want to hear anyone say, we should be the adults in anybody's room. Meet motherfuckers where they are. They want to play in the toilet, then you get on scuba gear. Do you understand? They want to play in the dirt, right? Then you get ready for the mud. Like, we are in a new phase of politics. That's what Donald Trump did 10 years ago when he came down that escalator and America descended from that same place. Just the descent, right? The degrading of us followed. And ever since then, we've been trying to meet Donald Trump's lies, meet his braggadocious persona on social media with facts and figures. And let me bring out my PowerPoint presentation. 10 years in, Gavin Newsom's like, bet, I'm going to beat you by being you, but I'm better looking and people like me. Now, I have had great issue with Gavin Newsom. I've said it on this show because Gavin Newsom started out the year wanting to platform motherfuckers like Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk, wanting to find common ground with white nationalists and transphobes because he thought, I'm going to go where the wind blows. And guess what? They still didn't like him. And he started to face a ton of fucking backlash for it. Because guess what? Donald Trump still decided to come for his state. And once that happened, and he was rolling out the tanks in LA, Gavin Newsom rolled up his sleeves and got to fucking work. So here's the message here. It shouldn't have to have waited for California to be hit for Gavin Newsom to realize that he shouldn't have gotten in bed with white nationalists on his little podcast. But the fact of the matter is that he recognized that cozying up to fascists was not ever going to make him or his state safe. So then he did the only thing that he should have done from the jump, which was go fist to cuffs. And so here we are. And now other governors are entering the chat. Kathy Hochul, my governor here in New York, said At the repost of the New York Times, the Texas House passed redistricting maps intended to help the GOP win 5 more U.S. House seats in the midterms. Kathy Hochul said, game on. New York Governor Kathy Hochul promises to respond to the Texas GOP gerrymander. She said this, quote, in New York, we'll confront Trump's legal insurrection head on. We'll meet him on the same field and beat him at his own game. It's about fucking time. Welcome to the resistance. Welcome to doing what the fuck you can, where the fuck you are. See? Not so hard. Because here's the kind of shit that we're dealing with, friends. This is news that just broke a little while ago. Donald Trump's $465 million civil fraud penalty tossed out by New York court. Thanks, New York, for opening the doors for yet another generation of Trump family grifting. A state appellate court in New York threw out Trump's roughly $465 million civil fraud case on Thursday. The court decision finding that Trump inflated his wealth on financial statements. Oh, you mean lied? Right. Was one lied so that he could increase the square footage so that he could get more money? The court decision finding that Trump inflated his wealth on financial statements was one of the few legal cases that wasn't stalled or dismissed as a result of Trump's presidential victory. The court was split on several aspects of Judge Arthur Engoron's decision in the case, but agreed to toss the massive fine against the president because it was too big to justify. Like, are we fucking serious? And they go on, while harm was certainly occurred, it was not cataclysmic harm that can justify a nearly $500 million award to the state. Tish James could continue to pursue the fine by appealing the justices, but we know that that's not going to happen. And James's office did not immediately respond. If you remember, this was a huge fucking win for Tish James because she showed that Donald Trump was a cheater. She showed how much money he had made off of those fucking lies and then pursued a penalty that was in kind with the amount of money that he fucking made. And then they want to turn around and say, oh, but it wasn't cataclysmic damage? What planet are you all living on? I'm just so sick and fucking tired of this man getting the benefit of the doubt, of being treated as if he isn't a grifter and a crook. So, speaking of the grift and the crook that is Donald Trump and his entire spawn, a massive report exposes that Trump purchased, get this, friends, $100 million in bonds tied to companies directly impacted by his policies. That smells like insider trading and is impeachable. Overall, Trump has made $3.4 billion in the last 8 months.
More than $100 million worth of corporate and municipal bonds. That is according to filings from the Office of Government Ethics. This kind of active trading by a president is unprecedented. It means Donald Trump stands to benefit or suffer losses, depending on how these bonds perform. But these bonds include banks, and they include companies, and they include local governments that are literally directly impacted by the decisions that Donald Trump is making in the White House. Tim, is this classic Donald Trump? You are extremely familiar with how this gentleman works as a businessman.
It is. Well, it's it's not even Donald Trump working as a businessman. It's Donald Trump working as an insider trader. It's Donald Trump in a position to influence the interest rates that determine the value of the bonds he's buying. It's that simple. The other thing is, it is a drop in the bucket. The $100 million in bonds he bought is a drop in the bucket in terms of the grift that's going on in the White House around cryptocurrencies. His net worth I think, jumped by more than $2.5 billion based on paper, but it's on cryptocurrency assets he holds at a time when his family had absolutely no experience in the business before he became president. It's a product that he disparaged as a scam before he became president.
Because there's no bigger fucking grifter and scammer than Donald Trump, leveraging his power as president, not to do good, not to help anybody, but his fucking self. Because you think that inside of whatever casket he ends up in is going to be all that money? He's going to divvy it out to what? The only kids that he likes? He doesn't even like his fucking family. So all of this is about filling this hole, this worthlessness that Donald Trump feels and will never fill up. Folks, I am so goddamn sick of it. I am so sick of it. Oh, and then there's this. The Trump administration says it's reviewing all 55 million people with U.S. visas for potential deportable violations. Newsflash for everyone that does not live here and requires a visa to be here, don't come. Ain't nothing for you here except being treated like dirt, potentially sent to alligator Auschwitz, right? Being degraded and humiliated. There's nothing for you. That's why our tourism is down. That's why international students ain't coming here. And that's why essentially Donald Trump will bankrupt the entire United States. It will look like Russia probably by the end of the fucking year. But the oligarchs will be fat and happy. Because what did they vote for? Their big, beautiful, bullshit billionaire bailout bill. Ugh, folks, there are some days where you're like, really? Like, is this the timeline that we all chose to live on? This is what our spirits chose? Really? There's nothing else? Oh, it gets better. But I'm going to spare you his voice today because I don't know whose voice I hate more, Donald Trump or JD Vance. What says all of you? Because I couldn't even listen to this. JD Vance today was speaking on homelessness. And before you think that he's possibly saying anything that this grifting oligarch is going to do to homeless people other than lock them up, because that's how they feed back their donors who run for-profit prisons, is just figuring out who else they can criminalize. So instead of figuring out ways to actually help the people, this is what JD Vance said on homelessness. I don't know why we accepted that it was reasonable to have crazy people yelling at our kids. You should not have to cross the street in downtown Atlanta to avoid a crazy person yelling at your family. Those are your streets. You notice how they always pick like cities that they never fucking visit to talk about, cities that are predominantly, or at least at one time were predominantly Black. So you're not going to address the issue of homelessness, the systems that create homelessness and contribute to it. You're going to blame, as Republicans have done since the invention of the welfare queen, you're going to blame the homeless person for their plight, as opposed to a system, as opposed to a country. Let us understand, one of the wealthiest nations in the world that has empty real estate all around, has the ability to end homelessness, to provide every unhoused person with a home. But how would we fill the prisons? How would we fill the asylums? How would we find the way to cause more harm? No, we have to make the problems that are created by greed and selfishness and scarcity to put that problem on the person that is experiencing the homelessness, as opposed to saying, how does one of the wealthiest nations not find out a way to give every unhoused person a home? To create the systems that ensure that people never end up unhoused. You see, they have had us buy into the selfishness and the greed of hypercapitalism that says that you just got to go out there and get yours and you don't have to worry about the collective. You don't have to worry about collective care. Because let me tell you something, if there's anything that fucking COVID showed us, is that most Americans are one job loss away from being unhoused. You have more in common with somebody that is homeless than you do with any fucking celebrity or oligarch that we idolize in this country. So it would behoove us, actually, if we want safe streets, not to militarize them and create a larger for-profit carceral system. It would actually work if we decided to give all people that are unhoused a home and all people that are hungry food. But let me not make sense, because that's not what they want. It's just much easier to blame the victims of the system rather than the system that only benefits a few, them and their motherfucking donors. JD Vance makes me sick, so I can't play his voice. So remember how yesterday I brought to you the logo change at Cracker Barrel? The meltdown of these idiots on social media around Cracker Barrel is just so rich. Byron Donalds. I have so many names that I can call Byron Donalds, but I have too much class to say them. But just imagine what they are in my head. Can you look at Byron Donalds' post on the broke down social media platform formerly known as Twitter? Oh, Rebecca's asking what happened to Cracker Barrel. Oh, Rebecca, let me tell you. Let me just give a little recap. So you see here how Cracker Barrel's old logo had the old white man leaning up against a barrel, right? Well, Cracker Barrel decided to go through a revamp, and now they've removed the barrel and the old man, and now they have a new fucking modern logo that just says Cracker Barrel. And MAGA has lost their mind because they cut out the white man, right? Like, oh my God. And they called the white woman who is the CEO of Cracker Barrel a DEI hire. Oh, yes, it's rich. So Byron Donalds does his best, step and fetch it, boy. Gets on social media and says this. I don't know how he looks at himself in the mirror. In college, I worked at a Cracker Barrel in Tallahassee. I even gave my life to Christ in their parking lot. Their logo was iconic, and their unique restaurants were a fixture of American culture. First off, Shannon Watts, I love her, says I gave my life to Christ in a Cracker Barrel parking lot in Tallahassee is the most American sentence ever. She's giving shade for those that don't know. I gave my life to Christ in a Cracker Barrel parking lot in Tallahassee? Byron, you could have saved that for your therapist to unpack with you about what the fuck you were going through. Did you also give your black card to Christ in that Cracker Barrel parking lot? I swear to you, every time that you think it can't get worse, it gets worse. It gets worse. And then you have this. You know, God bless this host. Jessica Tarlov. I get it. I guess that the checks at Fox, they have to be worth going to work with people that you fucking hate, right? Because it is so evident that she don't like these people that she works with. But obviously, she makes a pretty penny being the token Democrat of sense on their Fox at 5, whatever the 5 idiot roundup show is that they do. So Jessica breaks down the facts on she's like, I get it. Donald Trump won the election, but no one voted for him to be the curator of the Smithsonian. That's not what people voted for.
What I do think, though, is a problem is this new move that Trump wants to become the curator of the Smithsonian, and that he's posted that, this relentless focus on how bad slavery was that they have taken up. Like, that is not a winning argument. And you saw when this happened with Florida with the proposed curriculum where they said, well, let's just talk about how slavery actually benefited Black people a bit. Like, they got these useful skills. And even Byron Donalds went on TV and was like, no, we don't need to be doing that. I understand Donald Trump won. I understand he picked up a lot more minority voters than any Republican had before. But we didn't hire him to be the curator of the Smithsonian. There are people far more qualified to tell that story. And guess what? I think it's fair. When I've mentioned this before, so in front of an audience that didn't necessarily agree with me, like, it should be okay to say Robert E. Lee is a traitor and we should get his statue down. And it should be okay to just talk about this slavery as one of the worst things in certainly American history and world history.
Dana.
Like, do you realize how far into hell we have to be that now we have to remind people, as Donald Trump is trying to rewrite and rewrite American history, how bad slavery was? That, like, saying that, we're getting to the point where saying that is going to be illegal? That we're going to now have children learning that, oh no, slavery was just an unpaid internship. Everyone was given food and housing, and they came across not on slave ships packed like animals in such a way where you were unable to roll from side to side, where you were chained next to dead bodies that would then eventually be thrown overboard, that you would shit and vomit and be forced to piss in the same space for however the days were or the months journey that it took to go from Africa to the fucking new world. That children will now believe that it was the Carnival cruise ship that actually fucking brought these African interns to America to work, learn, and study. That's what the curator Donald Trump would love for you to believe and learn. So we have arrived in such an atrocious fucking place that the things that we used to agree on, slavery, bad, Hitler, bad, are now all up for fucking debate? There are days there are days, which is why I appreciate Representative Ann Johnson standing on business in the House in Texas and calling out these descendants of Confederates to their face and the blatant racist power grab that they have just done in the state of Texas. Because what we have done wrong all these years, folks, is that we have minced words, right? We have begun to use euphemisms to describe the very horrors that this country was founded on. Because we didn't want to make white people, white children feel bad about themselves. Well, if you identify with the oppressor, then you fucking should feel bad about yourself. But if learning the truth helps you not to repeat it, that's the actual lesson behind history. But not MAGA's lesson. And so, what do I say? What did Jared Yates Sexton say this week? He said, fascism rewrites the past, the present, and the future at the same time. And that's what they're doing in Texas.
And if you can't hear it from them, then hear it from me. As a white woman and a daughter of a man of privilege and power, he knew that his strength was to bring people that didn't look like him to the table of government. And so 50 years later, after Barbara Jordan, aided by white people to have a voice, the first woman of color elected to the South, a woman who sat in the impeachment of Nixon, a woman who said that finally, after amendment, debate, and vote, I am finally part of we the people. To stand here as a 50-year-old woman and know that we now go back in time. So let's talk about cowardice and cheats. Because if you knew you could win this next election, you wouldn't be taking this effort to try to steal 5 seats from elected officials that members of color elected to represent them in Washington, D.C. You wouldn't be doing everything you can to take this coalition of diversity and stand up at the mic and say, why are we doing this? Because we can. And you shield your racism with your party, with ignorance and arrogance, to come up here and say, to be honest with you, I haven't read the bill from the other side. To be honest with you, I haven't talked to the lawyers to be bringing this before it. Because you think that people will give you grace on ignorance and arrogance around party, because you can't admit that the root of all of this is about racism and power. A power grab. A pure power grab. And so I'm going to ask, don't shake your head. Because I'm going to give you a moment to prove what you mean behind that. Because when Donald Trump called Georgia Republicans and said, hey, boys, I need you to steal me almost 12,000 votes. To those men credit, they said, no, sir. We already know what Governor Abbott said. In a few minutes, we're going to find out what y'all say. Vote no on this bill.
That's what courage looks like. That's what a fighter looks like. That's what it looks like to stand on the privilege of your whiteness and stand up for the women that were behind her, the diverse group of women duly elected who will now lose their seats because of this redraw for the good old white boys club. And she looked those men in their faces and said, you can't tell me this isn't a racist power grab. And you can't tell me that your policies are popular, because if they were, then you wouldn't be going through all this fucking effort. And that is the thing, folks. Donald Trump is losing his base. Because if Donald Trump had faith in his base the way that he did in 2024 and the way that he did in 2016, he'd be holding fucking self-congratulatory rallies up and down this country where the masses would be running out to throw themselves at Donald Trump's feet. Oh, my life is so much better. Oh, my bank account is flush. Oh, all is so well in my life. Thank you. Praise Trump. But they know that the opposite is true. They know that it only took 8 months of his bullshit for people to wake up and say, wait a minute. I was out here crying about my eggs and crying about my gas, and you just gave $170 billion to fucking ICE? I'm talking about we need better schools. My kids need a quality education in order to compete, and you just gutted the Department of Education? You said that you weren't going to go after Medicaid, that you were going to leave our health care alone. Oh, that was a lie too? So they know not a good goddamn thing that has been done over the last 8 months has benefited them in any fucking way. So they can't stand 10 toes down on their own fucking policies because ain't nobody buying their shit. Look at their poll numbers. Donald Trump said out loud in his tacky ass Oval Office, talking about, well, if we don't change the maps, then Democrats are going to win. So say it one more time for the hard of hearing in the back. If you don't rig the game, you can't win. Folks. And so I end today on this. A piece written by John Pavlovitz on Substack. If you don't follow him, you should. It's not the first time that I'm putting up one of his pieces. Fast fascism, from democracy to dictatorship in under a year. Fascism arrived quickly. We need to send it back to hell quickly too. As someone who's spent the past few years working tirelessly to warn people about the implementation of Project 2025 and the arrival of authoritarianism, all but assured with a second Trump term, even I have to admit that it's unfolded far more rapidly than I could have imagined in the most terrifying of my nightmares. Just 8 months in, and already American cities have been turned into police states. Gestapo-esque gangs of masked thugs are kidnapping innocent people. Public education is facing termination. Gaza and Ukraine are hanging on by the thinnest of threads. Our thriving economy has been intentionally sabotaged. Our global standing in the world has plummeted. Our electoral process is under siege. Oh, yeah. And this week, we reached the slavery wasn't bad part of the program, as Trump took to social media to also declare museums woke and America hot. Authoritarianism needs to silence all voices of truth and dissent. And whether it's revered universities, respected journalists, or beloved networks, we're watching them all be swallowed up by the brute force of public servants with no regard for those they are entrusted to care for. Authoritarians and fascists don't stop. They must be stopped, or at the very least, slowed down enough so that a collective opposition can coalesce. I hope you'll share it with those you know who, for whatever reason, are not quite there yet. Good people who are either tired or frightened or oblivious or brokenhearted, and help them understand the cost of inaction. Fascism arrived quickly, friends, and we need to send it back to hell quickly too. That is John Pavlovitz over on Substack. Folks, we're here. We're not sliding into it. We're not maybe dabbling in it. Everything that John laid out has happened in 8 months. It took Hitler 53 days. It's taken Donald Trump 8 months to undo 250 years of democracy-ish, because we know that the shit wasn't never perfect to begin with. But it was to be perfected with each generation. They didn't want to just turn the clock back to the 1950s. They want to drag America back to the 1800s. When you are digging into laws from the 1700s to justify your fuckery, you know what time it is. I say this every day and in so many different ways. The people need to stand together. We need a national strike. The people of this country need to grind this economy to a fucking halt. The other day, I'll close out with this. I'm speaking with my accountant, right? I'm an independent. So I got to go through my taxes in a different way. And I'm saying to myself, as I'm putting together my taxes, the fuck am I paying this for? For what? I might as well just write the check, not to the IRS, but to Donald J. Trump. Because it's not going to our schools. Our tax dollars are not going to our roads. They're not going to feed the hungry. They're not going to ensure that our water is clean and that our food is safe. All of those agencies, all of those places have been gutted. So as the next tax year rolls around, for the majority of Americans in April 2026, I hope that people get to the collective space where they say, you know what? Nah. Because we all would need to do it together. Because I got to tell you that you have to ask yourself, what the fuck am I paying into? My own oppression? My own subjugation? Because there is not a goddamn thing that this fucking regime is offering that is worth a cent of our hard-earned and hard-fought dollars. You know, the dollars that they have purposefully devalued to up the price of their crypto grift. So, folks, people need to start thinking. And as John said at the end of his post, and I will say this at the end of this show, share this. Share these episodes. Share this channel with people who still find themselves on the fence, that still find themselves in a place of, oh, we can push through. Oh, the midterms will save us. Oh, this and that will save us. I know that it is scary to understand that we have entered into a place where the America that you knew is dead. So you must go through the logical stages of grief as if you have lost a loved one, because you did. You lost the stability and the reliability of a country that you never had to be concerned with. Because we had the beauty of a nonchalant commitment to our democracy and our government, because it would just run. Kind of like the fact that we don't have to think about our breath, except that's not how you hold on to a democracy. And we are now learning that the hard way. So for those in your life who still think that we are going to vote our way out of this while they are rigging the game in your fucking face, share this channel. Share these episodes. Continue to support independent voices that will tell the truth until we're told that it is illegal, which is soon coming, my friends. So as you recognize your own power, your platform, your voices, do what you can, where you can, for as long as you can. And link arms with others in your community, because there will come a time when you get tired, when you feel hopeless, and you will need others to lift you up and hold you up. And you will do the same for them. The only way through is together. That is it for me today, dear friends, on the Danielle Moodie Show. I want to shout out and give such gratitude for those that put some super chats and super stickers. Susan, as always, thank you so much. Trash Panda, as always, appreciate you. Noel, as always, appreciate you. Diane, Jenny, thank you so much. In the middle of nowhere, thank you so much. Mikkel, as always. Star Child, as always. LB, appreciate you. Every dollar goes to helping me continue to do the work that I feel like I am called to do. Vivian, thank you so much. Sherry, Karen, Liz, M, appreciate you. Serenity, thank you so much. PJ, given that foreign currency, appreciate you. Courtney, thank you so very much. Appreciate you. And Mountain Heather, thank you. Thank you very much for your support. Every dollar goes a very, very long way. I appreciate you all. And if you have not hit like, comment, and subscribe, I am working my way. Damnation is growing, and our next goal is 30,000 subscribers. So we keep trucking along. So if you have not hit subscribe, it is free. And just know, I never will put any of my content behind a paywall, because I believe that that is where our intellect, our critical thinking, and our democracy dies. So your support means the most to me, because you know that you will always get the content for free. So thank you, dear friends. As always, power to the people, and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane. And in these incredibly dangerous times, dear friends, do stay safe. I will be back tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern, for Democracy-ish with Wajahat Ali right here. So make sure that you join us Friday for Democracy-ish. Until then, my friends, the Danielle Moodie Show will be back on Monday. Be well.